Hey, good morning everyone, and welcome to the PivotBoss Pre-Market Report for March 22nd, 2017. I'm Frank Ochoa, aka PivotBoss. Here's a look at the daily time frame of the ES. The previous session we had quite a sell-off. Price attempted to push above the 77.5, 76.5 zone and began to fail intraday yesterday. We were watching this chart as it began to happen, looking at the daily chart, seeing how price was right neutral at that zone, and then when we jumped into the lower time frame, we began to see the sell-off start from the highs off of 76.5 to 77 and start to push lower. Once price pushes through all the daily targets, we had to bring up the weekly extensions, the weekly ADR targets, and that's when we started finding 46 as the next target down and lower. So overall, this was a big move, a big ADR day, so the biggest range day for the year so far, and something like this could lead to more volatility ahead, or it could lead to the development of a larger range. So we have our clear 2401 high, we had our low here, and we pushed down to it, getting close to the 2330 level, which is the 50% range. If this thing were to bounce, now we have a range that can encompass all of this action, and now we could likely do business in this range over the next couple of months. So that's something to take in mind. Overall, this thing has been very bullish. So just because we had a one-day sell-off and a multi-day pullback here doesn't mean that this thing is just going to continue going downward overall. This 2300 level right here is very important, 2307, 2308. So if price were to come into that zone, again, it would still be an opportunity to buy it back up. So right now, watching to see how price plays off the 2330s. This could be a short-term opportunity to find either a range down here or bounce back toward 2354s. We'll see how this plays out. But overall, this sell-off doesn't mean to pile on and start selling downward. It means it's a pullback that could offer an opportunity to buy in a longer-term price structure. So we'll be patient on this one at the moment. Looking at the intraday chart, you can see here that the previous session price dropped significantly. What we mentioned in the trading room is after you drop all morning like you did, and then you bounce back up, you tend to form a range and digest that recent move, and that's what mostly happened the rest of the session. Now you see that today, pre-market and overnight, we've seen the market trade mostly below the previous session's close, the 2341s, forming a rounded bottom. So that means all the stops are above 2341 right now. Buy stops are above that zone. A push through 2341, 42 can open up a return back toward 54s, which is the higher time frame level we noted earlier. A retest of this level could be a first test selling opportunity for bears. Overall, any failure to reestablish above 41, 42 leads to another round of weakness to the downside. Let's take a look here at crude oil. Here's a look at crude. Also experienced some selling pressure in the previous session. This was one of those times where the market sees significant selling pressure, ES down, NQ down, even crude oil down, and at the same time, gold straight up, the bonds up. And so when that type of situation occurs, you have to be able to step on the gas on those instruments that are going down, step on the gas on those that are going up, and stay directionally to the trend. One thing we talked about with the crude oil was that bulls wanted to keep 48.40 bid, and the last line of defense would be 47.90 bid for a shot at pushing up. We mentioned yesterday pre-market that this has been kind of a lazy development, so we could easily see a move back down into this zone. And again, if they can't hold it, you start to see the retest of the lows, and we'll see what happens here. So overall, being below that 48.40 zone is bearish today. Bears trying to keep a lid on that. We'll see what happens should price test 47.09. In this zone, we could see another bounce that leads to a retest here as this thing perhaps forms a range down here or continues lower. We'll see. At the moment, again, we're kind of in a wait-and-see mode to see how the market responds to yesterday's selling pressure this morning. Do we get additional selling, or do we reject back into the range? Again, we'll keep an eye on the higher time frame. From a lower time frame perspective right now, we are clearly trending downward. We gave up 48.40 as support. You can see right here, that's the level I mentioned bulls want to keep defended. And as soon as they fail to defend it, it becomes resistance. And so now any bounce, whenever we see rejection here, will likely lead us back to this level. And this level could be a great selling opportunity for bears upon the next retest. So right now we'll watch to see how it develops down here on these lows. At the moment, you can see that price is forming minor higher lows here. Coming into VWAP, which is downward sloping, there is a shot to kind of push this thing back. 47.90 is going to be the pivot right now. Bears want to keep it offered. Bulls want to get it back above that level to reach for 48.40. All right, let's take a look at the NQ. The NQ had some great levels in the previous session, in the last week really. The level we were talking about was 5,400 to 53.95s. And I mentioned that bulls want to keep it bid, and as soon as they fail to hold it, you likely see a retest to 61. That was yesterday pre-market. They failed to hold it, a quick move to 61s. Once 61s came out, we were looking for the previous close here, and that's right where we got to. So again, once major support levels come out, you target the next support. That one goes out, you target the next one. Typically speaking, when you're looking for a day to really get some heat, the first level doesn't really do it. It's usually pushing through that level and starting to knock out the rest where it really starts to pick up steam. And that's exactly what this did. Came back into 5,300 almost. That's where the previous support is here, and we're starting to see a little bit of support or a little tail form down here. So again, very similar to what I mentioned with the ES. If you're going to see an elongated price discovery phase like this, at some point you find a high, you snap back, and then you bounce and form some sort of range up here. And now we can do some business after seeing a price discovery phase. So that's what could be developing up here, given this big move down. A bounce back up, and again, we could have our edges, and now we'd be looking to fade edges as this thing develops ahead of the next major move down the road. So this could be an opportunity to fade back up at some point here. On an intraday basis, again, after a major downtrending market in the previous session, the tendency is to hold on lows a little while. And here's the previous session's close. You can see bears keeping it offered, kind of higher lows. So there could be a shot to run the stops back to 53.61 if prices push above 53.40. So there could be a 20 handle move into the zone. Again, when you're retesting a broken support level from below, bears would want to come and defend that level back down. So a couple of ideas here for the intraday chart. Lastly, let's take a look at gold. Gold was a major mover yesterday as well. Big time strength. What we talked about pre-market was one thing to watch for. I said pre-market. Right here, we're starting to see a rejection of the previous session's lows. In an uptrending market, when you reject the previous session's lows, that's an indication that you're going to zoom higher. And what I mentioned yesterday was look for a price to push to 1248 to 1250. It got as high as 47.70 yesterday and hit our 1250s today. So it got to that zone off of yesterday's failed new low in an uptrend. Boom, big time push right into that zone. Now we're back to where the sell-off began. Just recently, where it came off the previous month's close, sold off hard, now back to it. Anytime that happens, there's a tendency to kind of hold up here and chop. So the big move has just happened. We'll see what happens today. Could be a digestion pullback day. On an intraday basis, again, this is what it looked like yesterday when price was coming into the previous session's low. You can see right here, this is the point I referenced right here. Failing to hold below that zone and pushing above the 30s, and then all of a sudden, once it got above 35.5, which is about right here, these highs, and you saw the stop run come out, price started to push up. That's about the time right here where I told the room that we've just gone from a move up within the range to a likely beginning of a price discovery phase. So look to buy pullbacks on the way up. And this thing gave a lot of different opportunities for a big time push. Now that we've seen a trend up, there could be a trading range develop here. Look for 1240 to 1249, and this thing could be a fade the edges type of day for much of the day up here. So fade new highs, fade new lows until proven otherwise. All right, that's it for now. Let's see how this thing plays out heading into the rest of the session. Good luck and trade well.